All right, welcome everybody. Mil Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be 5/18/2021 at about 1:30 p.m. Coming to you from the great state of Texas. And without further ado, let's get over to the board, take a look at what we have going on here today. Right now, we're sitting at about 313 aircraft up. Looked like we had a couple of the electronic suite up. Got a sea of Helos. I'm counting 4 H-47s and just a metric ton of let me just get a little closer here. I'm going to see if I can grab some H-60s just for S&Gs. Let's see where we are. But yeah, we got quite a few up right now. Looks more on the board than actually what I'm seeing in terms of the filter over here. But yeah, a lot of Helos up, and we'll get into some of the Helo activity here in just a minute. But welcome everybody, and so today we're going to look at a couple things. Flashbang Schedule is always going to do a little more of a deep dive. I did get some data points out of DC relative to the Helo activity, and so we're going to take a look at those and see if maybe something might make sense. And then we'll bounce around the U.S. and look at all the other prison locations as we usually do on our SITREP. So, but with that said, we do have, there's our infamous Gitmo 844 headed back to the spa. Now that is base commander, folks. So just, I get asked that quite a bit, and I see that posted quite a bit, but that is really nothing more than the base commander headed back to the spa. So pretty frequent flight, and if it's not him, it's somebody from his staff. So, but anyway, just so you know, all right, looks like we've got a couple B-52s up. I did see them. A lot of tankers up today. A couple of sentries, so we've got some air traffic control up, airborne wise, and then, like I said, tankers, a lot of tankers, and which usually indicates we got a lot of fighters. So, but let's get down here real fast. I did want to look at a couple of the electronic suite that we had going once I get through all of these Helos on the board. We do have some P3s up. That's going to be your normal stuff up here in Seattle. There's one and the other. See them up pretty regularly. We do have a P8 down here that's going to be coming in and out of Jacksonville Naval Air Station, and then another one off the coast here. Looks like that's up near Norfolk. And we'll dig in on that one a little closer here in a minute. One of our infamous PC-12s that are up. That one looks to be dinging around in Colorado, but he doesn't. Let me get in a little closer. Aha! See that little tight circle he's starting to do? So, Dagger 41. And so we'll look at some of his history here as we kind of dig in and see if we may have found one of our little spy planes. So, but that is going to be a military PC-12, and he looks to be in that really tight circle. And no telling what he's looking at. I'm trying to zoom in to see if there's anything, but whatever it is, right in here has got his interest, okay? And so let's look at the historical data and see if we've got any other intel on him as we go back. That looks to be just a regular old touch and go, but that out here does not. There again, there's that tight, very nice little circle. As you can see him doing these things. So that looks to be one of our birds that is going to be gathering intel. So I don't know what happened there. Let me get back up just a little more, see if we got any more stuff on ground as we go through his history. All right, there is one. Yeah, you can see either this guy likes to do just perfect circles, or this guy has got something on board that he's actually doing a little surveillance. And so, but Dagger 66. So we'll keep our eye on those. But that one I've seen up a couple times. I just have never caught him actually doing the circle. And so, all right, let me get back to our regular board here and see what we got. But I did see a couple of electronic suites up. So we'll take a closer look at them. I saw that's a B703 down in that general area. Now you see him starting to run the little track here. Okay. Again, another one of our little surveillance birds. And we do have some R135s that are up as well. Now let me see if I can find them again. Here was one of them. And where did you go? Let's see. He's out here. All right, now he looks to be just taking off out of San Antonio, headed westbound. So we'll kind of look back and see here in a minute if he's if he's up to anything at all. But okay, that said, a couple things I do also want to touch on. If you guys haven't seen, now there was an article out. The Drive actually just did one yesterday about the balloons, the Google balloons, and some information about them. And I actually meant to pull them up, and I didn't preload them, so my bad. But I can talk to them, talk to the articles. But the Drive, like I said, if you don't follow the Drive, those guys are pretty on it, and a lot of the intel that they push out is pretty solid. They do the research, and I don't think I've ever seen them wrong on anything. And so, but they're pretty sharp and good guys to follow from everything I can tell. But looks like we got 5 or 6 along. So let me see, one of them looks to have dissipated. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along this area of active volcanic spewing ash. And then we've got this one out here, which is Dukono, which is always seems to be doing it. Now, Cinnabung looks to have subsided a little bit as well, as has the one in Iceland. Although when I get my Monkey Minute done, you guys will see there's another one in Iceland right now that is actually getting a little jiggy. And but it's a lava producer, not a ash producer. And so these are spewing ash, and they are thus ash alerts. So. Okay, so these Google balloons, if you guys remember, yesterday we did a SITREP and we were looking at these, and we were just kind of monitoring all of their activity. Now you can see we still have 2 of them here, but they are definitely, it's over Wilmington, it's down, this general area. This thing is definitely loitering in the area. And then we've got another one right here. Now, the biggest question I have right now is, so we talked about them. The Drive did an article on them. And then all of a sudden, we seem to have lost 5 other Google balloons somewhere in this area. Now, I can tell you they don't move very fast. These things click at about 6 miles an hour or so. They're pretty slow. 12 miles an hour, I think, is probably top. So they are not fast movers. So the probability of these dudes being out of the area or making some big moves and us not seeing them is pretty rare. So we've got 5 that have decided to go quiet on us and disappear. So like I said, now the articles will tell you, and this is what's kind of interesting, the articles are going to tell you that this program was supposed to end in January of this year, that they are all still up, that they originally were used or intended to be used for internet in remote locations, so they say. But they also talk a lot about surveillance, and that their new kind of missions are kind of in that realm of surveillance. And so that tells you that these balloons are now being repurposed by our government and our military to gather intel and surveillance. So just like the aircraft that are flying around doing circles, gathering stuff, you basically have a government that is big brother. I mean, they're watching us like a hawk, and they have been for a while. And so this is just one more purpose. And they just think because they're up and about at 60,000 plus feet, we don't ever see them. But evidently there were people in North Carolina that decided to look up and saw the little shiny object. I reported on it just based on what I saw yesterday, and then the Drive actually wrote an article on it yesterday as well, as did the local news in North Carolina and South Carolina. So we got somebody's attention, but I find it very ironic that all of a sudden 5 of these just happened to go away. So we still have this one. Now, if you guys remember, it was in this area yesterday. Today it looks to be down here under the Choctaw Nation, just in southern Oklahoma. But it like I said, it doesn't move very far. So this will take days to get anywhere. Okay, at 6 miles an hour, it is a turtle's pace. All right. So there is your government at work, spending your money wisely to watch you. All right. So here is going to be Flashbang Schedule. That is today, the 18th, and it looks like he is headed up to Detroit, Michigan, old Motor City. And he's going to be doing a little motorboating up there, and he's going to the Ford Electric Vehicle Center and then he comes back to the White House. So we'll keep our eye on the Helos. I do know that Nancy Drew and folks and Richard Citizen are all up there kind of watching, and I think now we've got enough of a we've got enough attention on these helicopters that if there's any kind of shenanigans going on, we will definitely be catching them out. Okay. Now, here's one of the things. Now, you remember we were reporting as we talk about the helicopters, we're kind of transition over to these now. This thing landed 4 hours, 19 minutes ago. It was in the general DC area. Now, this will tell you, so Flashbang rolled out, okay, and here's all their little curlicues as they're cruising over. And obviously going to Detroit, he's not going to be flying on Marine One, and he's going to be getting on Air Force One, okay, or NA. Sorry, he's flying on NA. And so these guys are clearly flying a lot of surveillance stuff out here, which is to be expected. That's what they do, okay? Somebody sent me a short video, and they talked about this. One of the things they did say that they were very adamant about doing things in state. And so it doesn't, that just kind of leaves the gap of why are they flying to Delaware? Okay, it's that it definitely seems to be out of scope for them. All right, so there was that flight. As you can see, as you watch these flights, where it touches down, okay, and so you can see that is a touchdown point, as is this right here, as are these two right here. So if we get close, we watch this flight unravel. I'm going to bump it up a little bit, and what we're wanting to look at are these touch points. Okay, so that is going to be a touch point. Makes sense. So it landed at the airport. So that's where the 747 is. It landed. It looks to have landed. Let me get in a little closer. That is going to be pretty close to your police headquarters. Makes sense there. Okay. And then here it seems to have landed as well. And so let's figure out where that is. Oh, imagine that. So it is 0 feet on ground, and that is down here. And that is going to be up there, I think, near the ellipse, just north of it, actually. And so this is going to be your White House area, all right? And South Lawn, and then this is going to be up here. I think this is the ellipse area, but anyway, so it looks to have landed here, and then it took off, landed here, and let me get that back up a little higher, which is this same point. Now, the other day it landed on the other side of this bridge, okay, and then it flew and landed here, which is going to be at the airport. All right. So, and landed right at the airport. So, and then it probably, if I had to guess, went back to RTB to police station. Yeah, right there. Okay. All right. That's important to note. And the reason I say that is because if you remember, as we were talking yesterday, when this thing came back from Newcastle on Monday at 22 hours, it landed at 9:26, 9:26 hours here in DC, we had it touch down in this general area, okay, on this side of the water. Now, why is that important? Well, this is the intel that I got from somebody yesterday. There's a Twitter page that tracks DC helicopters, okay, and so this one was seen. There is our bird, as we talked about it yesterday. You guys can see it's actually right beside the Naval Yard on the other side. That is where we saw it land, okay? Now, this is where it gets interesting, because as part of that intel, we also had a spotter that captured one of your presidential fleet helicopters right there at that same location on ground. And so now we've got it here and here. So we've got somebody that actually tied the two together. And of course, they are not exactly at the same time. They're just a couple minutes behind each other. But you can go out here to this, I guess it's plane spotters or whatever, or copter spotters or something. I don't know. I'm not on Twitter anymore. So, that would basically tie in with what our observation was yesterday as we watched. Again, let me pull this back down. For those that didn't see yesterday's SITREP, you'll see we have that helicopter on ground right here. Okay, 0 feet. Okay, and so now somebody tried to say, well, you know what, dude, they were just below radar, and so it looked like they were on ground because of the airspeed. But I'll tell you that airspeed's one of those anomalies. I've seen this happen before, where the airspeed doesn't really jive with this because it just doesn't. I don't know why. Not always is it spot on with the data. But if you go over here, you can see it actually climbing out, right? And so it drops down to 0 feet, and then you can see it start to move. It's at 100 feet, 200 feet. But you can track these things down. If you go down into the view track log, it'll actually give you, I mean, that right there gives you all of the details, knots, airspeed, everything. It'll actually start to tie down some of the things where you're kind of questioning, well, did it go down? Did it not go down? But if you go and look at even the landings today, we could probably see that the airspeed was also kind of funky. So anyway, that said, and so, like I said, I'm talking to Nancy Drew, and she's actually doing some research today, and she's going to try and get, now that we're kind of coordinating efforts, I think it's going to actually give us a little more intelligence, knowing where to look and what to look for. Because when I start seeing things drop down by the Naval Yard, then maybe before they were over on the other side, right? So they were probably gathering a lot of their intelligence, or intel, sorry, back over in this general area, right? So they've been, most of them seem to have been over here near the White House and the Ellipse and this general area. And now all of a sudden when you see, oh, wait a minute, that is down the street over at the Naval Yard, you probably, if you're in here, you're not seeing what's going on over here, okay? Because that's a little ways away. And so could they have done a little drop, somebody pick up and then bring them in, and then they give the old appearance, all optics, right? Plausible. But until we actually get somebody catching it happen on film, then right now it's just a theory, okay? But man, what a coincidence, the fact that you got them both landing in the same area, okay? And so, like I said, yesterday when we were looking at it, I thought maybe these guys came in, it was a little bit of a long flight, this guy had to go code brown, and they dropped him and right there near the Naval Yard, and then rolled on to the thing. But that was 10-minute span, not very long. So total flight between the time they dropped to the time they came back. So okay, that said, back over here, this is going to be this is not Marine One. This is actually what we call the sniffer. Could be Marine One, same type of helicopter as we think may be being utilized. But this is actually going to be, you notice all the probes all over this thing. This is going to be Department of Energy, and this is a helo that basically does air quality samples, and they are smelling for things in the air like biological, chemical, nuclear type of stuff. Owned and operated by the Department of Energy, which it is currently, this is kind of interesting now, it is currently in, and of course we got weather, but it was showing in Knoxville, Tennessee, and so it looks like this thing is on the move. The last time we saw this take place, where it decided to vacate from the brown zone, it was actually headed back out to Vegas. And so that will take a couple legs. They fly for about maybe 2 hours tops, and they'll land and do a refuel, spend a day, and then they'll fly again. So again, it may be headed westbound out to Vegas. So we'll keep an eye and see where it goes from here. But currently it is just departing from Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay. All right. Now let's take just a quick gander at our Eurofighters that are up right now. Again, why do we look at these? Because these are kind of like the Ford Explorer for police departments and the like, okay, and our departments. Between that and H-60s, they like to fly these a lot. And so, but we've got quite a few up. Now, LA is always just jammed up. It is always that way, okay? Hawaii, these are probably more like the helicopter tours that you're seeing. Okay, they fly those too. We get down here closer to The Phoenix area, now that is going to be right there is one of the Phoenix police departments. We can see it here, City of Phoenix, and we can get a little closer look and you can see them doing some routes. Now, that's Sky Harbor, and the audit location is kind of in this general area right here, okay? Now, the audit's not going on to my knowledge. It's been postponed due to a graduation that's coming this weekend, and then they'll be back at it, but these guys are out doing their flying. Now, the Helos I'm not really looking for from a Stingray dirt box type of thing. Can they go on Helos? Absolutely. But, it just doesn't. I don't know. I think it's a better fit on the aircraft on a fixed wing than it is on a rotor wing. Okay. Just my opinion. Do they have them? Probably, but I don't know. So can't confirm, but here it looks like we got quite a few little police copters doing some stuff around Phoenix. Another one, that one's just a little bit outside of downtown, and then more of them up here. Okay. And of course, you'll get some fire helicopters in there as well. We do have some fires right in that general area, just northwest of Phoenix. Out here, that's going to be 329 TX. We've looked at him before. He usually flies a lot of the border stuff. That's going to be your highway patrol, and that's going to be highway patrol. Now that one is down in the El Paso area, and you can see him flying there. But that's in 204 TX, going to be Texas Department of Public Safety. So yeah, it's your state troopers, and looks like he's doing a little flying around looking for some people as well. So okay, now let's get over to we just looked at that one. Let's get over here to Guantanamo Bay, aka the spa, and we'll start to get into this one now. We let's see, it's been kind of a usual quiet stuff. I haven't seen anything other than this last week that was a little out of sequence, and then before that we had this one that was out of sequence. But this is Air Transport International. That's going to be a 757-200. That's a cargo jet coming out of Charleston. And then this is Sun Country. Like I said, that came in on Friday, and that basically does a round robin. That's going to be your Uber for the legal Eagles that come in and out of Guantanamo Bay. Okay, so we'll go over here and take a look at en route. See, we don't have anything. Let's get to scheduled departures. Still clear. And regular departures. Now, this is where you want to make sure that it matches up and it looks to be, line item by line item compared to the arrivals. So what I'll see sometimes is they'll sneak one in and they'll drop in a out of sequence tempo bird. You won't see it on the arrival board. You'll see it on the departure board. And so they get kind of clever that way. And then they used to back in the day. This is a couple years ago. You'd actually see them delete the flights that were coming in, which really highlights that you're onto something when they start just making them disappear. So, and then I was actually watching some of the Coletta Birds where they were mid-flight, they would change their call sign and go to a completely different one, and it would just end. And so you would be searching, trying to find out where the plane went, and then you'd have to go look at the end numbers and just back into it, and then look across other apps to catch them out. But they were doing that quite a bit as well. So that tells you they were definitely up to something going on there at the spa that they didn't want you knowing about. So, all right, nothing new. This is from last week on Thursday. There's a little Bell helicopter that came in, and same with these. This one is the same, little Bells. And then we've got some Reach coming in from Charleston. So nothing really new looking when we get down here to XPL Honduras. And again, this is going to be your alternate location to Guantanamo Bay. It was actually requested in one of the National Defense Acts of 2020 that they do a study between XPL Honduras and Kwajalein Atoll for a alternate to Guantanamo Bay prison location. And so it was supposed to be conducted and finished first quarter of 2020, and so that was completed to my knowledge. And then we started to see kind of the uptick in the air traffic flowing into XPL, so it looked like that was going to be their alternate. So, okay, now we've got this is going to be N312FU. This is going to be our little bird. This is we're actually the Maxwell bird is what we've been referring to this one. Now, this one is actually rolled out of Lauderdale, and it was headed into Nassau, Bahamas. Again, these are the locations that we like to watch because when it comes to black sites, in the past, what we've seen are these agency birds going to Bahamas, Kingston, Jamaica, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and they've been kind of bouncing around those general areas. And then every once in a while, you'll see one go down to Trinidad, Tobago, and that kind of thing. But this is just, it's like the perfect flight. When we talk about rendition flights, it's the perfect, because you get off the ground, you're airborne, you're at altitude, and you are over international waters within just 15, 20 minutes of leaving Florida. And so the rules of engagement, they change, right? And so what they'll do is basically fly out to these little black sites and then give somebody a shakedown, and then catch and release, so to speak, right? And let them go. And so every once in a while in the past, like around the Epstein days, we would see them come out of these and actually see a couple go into Guantanamo Bay, which was kind of interesting. So, all right. So this one looks to have been, last time we looked at it was yesterday. It was actually in Boca Raton, and it went back to home base. And it looks like today it's headed into Nassau. And so we'll watch it again on Friday to see where it has gone from there. All right, this is, what are we looking at here? This is going to be all of our Phoenix flights, and it looks like we don't have anything active right now. Again, the Phoenix flights, they've been kind of quiet lately. Now, we do get the regular little hoppers that come out of Laguna, and they go over to China Lake, and then they go into the little naval island right off the coast there. That's daily routes, but they're usually a little bit earlier than now, so we've missed them by a couple hours, but all right, and these are going to be your Atlas flights. We've been watching these closely. Now, we still have the daily flight going from Kentucky down to El Paso, and we actually did get somebody to kind of go in and confirm that aircraft was not unloading cargo. Now, keep in mind, too, Atlas, as a cargo jet, when they land, they're going to actually taxi up, and they don't go to a jetway, okay? They park out on the ramp. And then you get all of the vehicles that pull up, and they basically start unloading all of the cargo. And so they'll swing the big doors open, and then they've got forklifts that come in, and they unload the aircraft. That's what they do, right? And they're very good at it. When they are rolling in passengers, they go to the jetways, okay? And so we are getting confirmation that those flights that are coming into Kentucky are going to the jetway, which means they are flying folks out of El Paso, loads of folks into Kentucky. And I think that's probably going to be one of our positions where they're actually processing people. So they bring them into Kentucky, and they give them money, and then they say come back to court and never see them again. And so that's going to be our government and immigration policy that's taking shape right now. So there is that. Now this one, it probably is coming out of Ramstein, Germany, headed into Baltimore. And again, you guys can see what these planes look like. They're not all, though this one's got the nice big gold tail and the Atlas. Most of them have the blue, and then it's got the dude with the globe on his back. But they go by Polar Air. They've got a bunch of different names, and they also lease and charter other aircraft. So they may say DHL, could be anything. So. But you just have to kind of go by the call sign and know what you're looking for when it comes to Atlas, all right? And what we're watching for with these Atlas flights are the ones that are coming out of the Middle East. And we don't see too much of that this week. They seem to not be doing that. They're still flying in and out of Asia pretty regularly. Okay, now let's get over here to the Phoenix Birds. This one landed about 3 days ago. These are what you call the gray birds. We see these every time we talk. These are the ones we watch. I believe these aircraft used to at one point belong to the CDC, because I remember back in the Ebola days, they were flying a very similar aircraft, and it's in that same general area. But anyway, so there is your gray bird. Let me back this up just a skosh. And looks like that one's sitting in Greece as of Saturday, okay? And as you can see, this thing from Greece, it's been in Rome, Italy. Interesting data point. And so Malta went from Greece into Rome, and then it's back out. So now it's sitting back in Greece. They seem to kind of stage them in these locations between Malta and here. Okay, that is kind of where we are with our Phoenix bird for 163. Now this is going to be another one that's in 549 PA. This one popped onto our board at Guantanamo Bay and looks to be rolling out of San Antonio, Texas, headed back to Cartersville. And so it took somebody from Andrews Joint Base down to San Antonio, Kelly Field, and then looks like it's RTB back to Cartersville. So whoever it picked up here is still sitting down here in San Antonio. All right, more than likely that aircraft's going back to Cartersville empty. And then this is going to be 540 PA. Now this one has masked itself as a medical bird from time to time, and looks like it has flown from Camp Springs, which is the brown zone, down to Atlanta on Sunday. So on Sunday, that bad dude went down to Atlanta, GA, and so we've got eyes on it there. But before that, it was in Kansas. So it went, actually, let's just kind of back up a little bit. Saturday, it was in Amarillo, Texas. Went to California, Travis. From Travis, it went back to Kansas over to the brown zone. And then from the brown zone, it went back to Atlanta. So more than likely, it's empty coming from here to here, all right? What they call a deadhead flight. So more than likely, whoever they brought back, they came out of Kansas and went back to Andrews. Okay, so let's take a quick look here. I'm going to pull this up. One of the things we're just kind of keeping eyes on. I'm going to look at this, and then we're going to drop down and look at Israel as well. My phone, if you guys do not have the Red Alert app, it's actually pretty hideous. The thing goes off, and it just continues to go off every time a rocket is launched out of the boundaries around Israel into Israel, and it'll go off for 10 minutes straight, just nonstop. And so it's pretty wild. But right now we're looking at the Ukraine, and again, this seems to be a kind of a no-fly zone. I don't see any activity here. You can see them actually going around the country, and so that tells me that this situation has not been resolved. Okay, and so we'll continue to watch that. One thing I do need to touch on real fast, I totally skipped over it, but let's get down here to Israel real fast and just take a quick gander to see if we've got anything kind of strange going on here. Let me see what that one is right there. Now that just looks like a private deal coming around the country and headed into actually Syria or there's Damascus or headed into Lebanon. Israel looks like they've got stuff going on down here. At least they've got aircraft that are flying. We'll look at the military side here in just a minute. One of the things I totally skipped over was we didn't look at TFRs. So we need to kind of go into that. So let's see here. Now, we still have, as we were looking at yesterday, these are air shows here and here. That's going to be an air show. And then that is space program, and for some reason it went from yellow to red, so I guess that area has gone hot. And as we get out here, we looked at these. We're here yesterday. That's VIPs. My guess is that's probably going to be Bob Marley going into that area. I'm not sure what this one is right here, but let's just pull it up and see. Air show. Okay. So we got an air show happening down here. I guess that's New York. And let me just bounce over here real fast and see what we've got. There's another one, another air show. Looks like south of Pittsburgh. And then we've got one here in the brown zone that is Annapolis. Let's see what we've got here. Another air show. Okay. Like I said, a sea of air shows. This is where Flashbang is right now. Okay. So he's going to be up here in this general area. And then I don't know what that little tiny one is. That's still all tied under the VIP stuff. So I guess this is the area he's going to be headed, or is already there today. Okay. Everything else looks to be normal on the board out here at Beale and these other locations are all kind of standing TFRs. All right. Okay, now let's get over. We're going to look at the Middle East and Europe on the app if it'll pull up. Of course, we got white screen going right now. Okay, it has decided to cooperate. Now, I did have persistence on, and I was looking at it because I didn't want to lose sight of all the activity and action that has been taking place. Now, it is reset itself and is no longer on. But that right there is going to be our Q4 drone that is basically running heavy duty surveillance in the general area. Now, we were just looking there. Remember, this is going to be your Black Sea right here, and then Ukraine. And so that border, and this is that whole area we were just reviewing that has no air traffic in it, okay? And so that drone goes up there every day and is just gathering data. And let me see here. Got air refueler, which means we got definitely got fighters up in this general area. Okay, this is going to be Iraq right here, or Iraq. So it looks like that one came out of Iraq actually, and then this right here is a B703. You guys familiar? This is going to be one of your intel gathering surveillance birds, who looks to be hecka busy. So that's Israel, and we were just talking about that a minute ago. But you're going to notice here's your Gaza, right? So your Gaza Strip in here. And these guys, as things start to get, it is not that sporadic and jagged. That's just how it's showing because it's getting jammed up on its signal. As you can kind of see as we back out a little bit, there's a little bit of rounded where this thing's been turning around and stuff. But looks to have come over land and, covering a lot of area. That bad dude right there, every time something gets launched, it is locking down that location, and that location is probably getting shelled pretty quickly. So looks like we've got, again, the Israelis are up doing their surveillance, which can't blame them given what's going on. And so, all right. And we get down here into Athens. It looks like we've got a couple C-130s. That's U.S. military birds. And let me see here. That is typically, now the U.S., when we fly these are going to be Spec Ops birds. I don't know if that applies the same to Italy, but that one's on ground. But you guys can see what the aircraft looks like. Now the American ones, that's a pretty cool looking bird. But the U.S. ones are like this, and they just basically have I think they're blue and white. But this one looks like it's ready for action. It's got a pretty cool little paint job on it. But it flies. You notice the sides on these are square. They're flat. And it's almost like the old de Havilland 330s or 360s, which are like a box car. It's the strangest thing to see these aircraft that are just, they look like a trailer and then somebody just put a cockpit and some wings on it. And they fly like a trailer too. So, but anyway, that's going to be the Italians there. And as we get up here, this right here in Rome, that's going to be one of your Apache. So I'm pretty sure that's an Apache if I can get it to load. Things are kind of a little bit slow on me right now, so I don't know what's going on with the app. But yeah, there we go. Unresponsive. Duh. So, but anyway, that is what we have there now. Looks like you got French have a little Falcon jet that's rolling in, and then we've got a C-135 aircraft, and I'm not really familiar with that particular one, but it's a Boeing C-135. I imagine it's kind of like our RC-135, maybe. That's just another surveillance bird. Like I said, not totally sure if it was. Yeah, I guess that is. It's a 135, so that's probably the same kind of platform. Okay, and let's see here. Another one that's going to be that's Portugal though. And man, the UK is pretty quiet. Now look at all these helicopters up right now down in south of Frankfurt into Chechnya. This is pretty cool. These are EC-45s. That's going to be a Chinook H-47. Again, EC-45. And let me see. I think those are U.S. No, it's German military. That is U.S. military, so you guys can kind of see what that aircraft looks like. But that's your little EC-45, the Army one. That's kind of an interesting looking camo. I don't think I've seen that camo before. But back over to it. And then here in Chechnya, man, I tell you what, when I bounce out of this app, it does not like me doing that. So, all right. Maybe it'll come back here in just a second, but that's going to be that. Now I'm going to get back over to the U.S. and I'm just going to stay on this map to do it because I think if I back out, it's not going to like it. It's going to take me to just a white screen on this other one, and then we'll be sitting waiting. And then I don't have any jazz hands. I don't have gloves or anything, and so trying to kill a little bit of time while it's deciding to load. But all right, so here we are back again up to about 322. So we're going to just break this down, go left to right, just to kind of see what activity is going on west coast to east coast. I'll kick it off over here over Hawaii. Looks like we got an air refueler that is up. And now notice he's doing a little marshalling pattern, right? That means he is probably loading up some aircraft, doing refueling. 25,000 feet. That seems to be kind of the smooth space for air refueling. That seems to be their go-to, kind of in that general range. But that marshalling pattern right there, he's typically just running a circle, and these aircraft come in, hook up, and then and bug out. So. More than likely, he's probably fueling F-22s and F-18s, if I had to guess. More than likely. So that's out of Oahu. And then let's get back over here to west coast. Again, we've got a couple of two ships. You can see there's the C-17 that's coming. Looks like it actually took off out of Tacoma and is coming back. So that could have been maybe a jump or something. And it's coming back to base, RTB, and then this one here also took off, but that one's headed southbound. Looks to be, he's pretty low, 4,600 feet. Air refueler, another air refueler, and C-130, and then another air refueler. So we've got 3 air refuelers right here in that general area. Going to have a P3 up in this area. Looks to be, let me back up a little, see where he's coming out of Alaska. So he's probably coming in and returning to base here. And this guy looks like he just rolled out, but it's interesting because he looked to be pretty busy around the mouth of that area, that waterway there coming in from the Pacific. So that's a lot of work, and that's not doing like touch and goes. That seems to be, actually looking for something. So, all right, now he's headed southbound, and we get into California. Air refueler, another air refueler. So we've got a lot of tankers up. We got that one's on the ground. I do see a couple lawn darts. Now that's not a lawn dart, that's actual fighter. That one's on ground. Fueler's on ground. Lawn dart in the San Francisco area. And then that looks to be EC-45. Just like the same aircraft we looked, that's a Eurocopter. That's what EC stands for. And then we get down here into this general area. Given the amount of fighters, I don't know, man. That's fighter. That one's not even showing. It's just showing as NA. My guess is that's an H-60. There's an EC-45, so that could be an EC-45. C-17 looks to be landing. Let's see. Yeah, descending. So that one's coming in, and it looks like it came out of Beale or Travis. That's in that general area. And then lots of Helos. V-22, looks like we got, there's a little V-22 Osprey. It's coming out of down south here in the San Diego area. And then we look on ground, we've got another V-22 Osprey. And we got one over here. So lots of V-22s up today. It's kind of cool. You don't see those too often. It's kind of funny. That icon's kind of an interesting thing. That is going to be a 2-ship. Again, these are both air refuelers headed into that general area, but a 2-ship. So, all right. So let's get over. We're going to look a little closer at Phoenix. And you can see that although that V-22 shows it going up here, tagging into Phoenix, you see that line kind of getting, That's just a signal got jammed up, and it didn't get a clear signal, so it's wanting to skew it. But you can see it just maintained that same line straight across. And let me see, not too much actually going on in Phoenix right now. I do have a fighter up here just south of Prescott, between Phoenix and there. And let's kind of get over. Now this weather is really across Oklahoma and Texas. I'm surprised you have any trainers up at all, but looks like you got quite a few. So got a pretty heavy trainer activity. And then up here, that's going to be air refuelers, all air refuelers, except for that one. Well, that's actually a refueler as well. It's just a 767 refueler. All right, let's get over here to East Coast. Now, what I'm looking for as we get into, we're going to look at Florida and let's see, the DC area. Now, look at Florida, just blank. Nothing over Florida. Oh, wait, there. I just didn't want to show up. I was going to say, I've not seen that happen in a long time, but C-130, B-350, a little CN-35, looks like that's headed out of Charleston, another B-350. And so those are little beach MC-12Ss, so you guys can see that's one of these. So kind of a cool looking bird. I have no earthly what that little dome is on the top, but that's an Army bird. And lots of antennas, if you notice. That right there, that is that little box on the side. That's that's an antenna as well. And then you notice all of these little RF antennas on the bottom, and then that little dome. So that's probably another some type of a surveillance bird that the Army operates, and seems to be running back and forth there. Now, if I can get it. Again, we'll give it a second. Like I said, it does not like me bouncing out and coming back. So we'll get up here near DC. Now, what we're looking for over DC are the air refuelers, which would indicate that we still have fighters up over this general area. Now, that's going to be Venus 60, little G5. There's your air refueler. If he's hanging out in this general area, then that would probably be servicing. That's going to be a 737. That one's coming from way down south. And that's a C-130. That's nothing. A little P-8 activity. That's probably coming out of Pax River. And then lots and lots of helo activity all along this waterway. So little H-60, another H-60, and another. So 3 H-60s. Now that one it's kind of jammed up on us. I don't know. Probably not the exact pattern that thing flew, but they seem to have a big interest on this waterway right now. Like you can see them all just kind of tucking in right along here. So C5, that's going to be one of your heavies, and it looks to be coming out of Kentucky, maybe. Yeah. All right. So, all right, that I think is going to do it. Let me just double check here. That's an Airbus rolling out. That's the UK Airbus coming out of the US. So headed back to the UK. All right, yeah, that's going to do it. So, all right, well, we're going to wrap up, and I will, again, we'll be back on Friday with our normal SITREP. And monkeys, you guys are over in the live chat, just hang out, and I will be joining you here in just a second. Everybody else, be safe. God bless. Monkey out.